I'm going to present to you the Rotterdam city experience. Um, I have been a researcher for all of my life. First, I worked for Wageningen University, and today I'm an independent researcher. And I was always active while I was a researcher in the food system of my hometown, Rotterdam. So I founded an citizen initiative, and also I was the co-founder of a food council in 2013 in Rotterdam. And I also was and still am sitting on the board of several urban agriculture initiatives that are active in Rotterdam or some other cities in the Netherlands. Um, and there's a link with me and the presentation that is following here, because I'm sitting in as a member of the quality team for the World Food Center in Ede, and Hilda is going to talk more about it. So I know a little bit about Ede. I don't know, Hilda, if you know a little bit about Rotterdam, but accidentally we know each other. Then. This is our claim to fame as a citizen initiative in Rotterdam. This is an abandoned rail yard, and we decided to make an urban farm there. It was quite a big project, but much to our own surprise, in 2 years' time, we changed this area in the port city area of Rotterdam into. This is the design of the urban farm, and this is how it eventually looked in practice. A nice place to hang out, a restaurant, a market garden, uh, um, a mushroom growing, also fish culture, and chickens all over the place. So and we got a lot of attention from this, and it also, I think, was a sign to the local government to do something about this new trend of urban agriculture and this trend of citizens trying to reclaim the food system. I think if you are able to make this kind of statement, then the government tends to take you more serious. So that was good for us. We started off in a good way. As I said, I'm also involved in the board of several other urban agriculture initiatives. In Rotterdam, there are a couple of them. It is actually a thriving network. This is a pop-up restaurant by a good friend of mine. It's called Hotspot Hutspot, which means hotspot for youngsters, and hutspot is a traditional Dutch stew for elderly people that can go and eat there, have their evening dinner, and not eat it alone at home. So this serves multiple goals. This is children learn how to grow food and also how to prepare it and how to present it. And on the other hand, you see here two of the cooks, and these are cooks that used to work in general restaurants, but the tension in the kitchen there can be so big that these people become alcoholic addicts. And here, this is a place for rehabilitation because it's a children's restaurant, so there is no alcohol around. It's a place for rehabilitation, and I think we can be proud that maybe more than 10 cooks have been rehabilitated and are now back as chefs in restaurants again. So that's a quite interesting initiative. And that's another one which I'm not going to explain. And this is the situation in the Netherlands. As many of you know, we are an agricultural nation. And according to this study by Oxfam, it's a couple of years ago already, the Dutch food system actually beats the French and the Italian one. I was really surprised when I read it, but this is about accessibility. This is about healthy food. This is about abundance of food. And in all these terms, the Dutch food system is actually good. So what is the urgency for food councils to improve on something that is already quite good? Now, one thing, of course, as you probably know from if you live in Germany, we have a very export-oriented industry in the Netherlands. A lot of our produce is going to Germany and France and UK and Belgium. So there is this alienation between the consumer that is just going to the farm and says, okay, I want to buy my food here. And then the farmer says, okay, my food is being exported to Germany or to New Zealand, so I cannot offer it to you. There is this disconnection, and I think that is one of the urgencies in the Netherlands, that a lot of people want to reconnect the farmer with the citizen. So that's one of the urgencies why we are so busy with urban food systems. And this is another one, just the layout of the city of Rotterdam. You see the dense area in the center here, and then you see highways around the city, and then you see here the agricultural side. So it takes you by bicycle 2 hours. You go through this industrial desert, and then you find your first farmer. So physically, even though this is only 20 kilometers, it is a world of difference. If you go by bike, you really have to struggle to find your farmers. This is different from other cities in the Netherlands that have a much nicer interface between the city and the countryside. And then this is really what started us off. There was this a meeting with the local government, and we discussed the greenness of the city. And first, one thing was already shocking, is that the green that you see here is rubber. It's not natural green, because that means that you can maintain it cheaper. So it's a cheap maintenance. This is, by the way, the main street of Rotterdam. It's now being redone, and it's much better today, but at this time it was like that. And then we asked one of the civil servants, what did you learn from the meeting today? And then he said, okay, this is about green. The city should be greener, but the only way I can imagine the city will be greener is if we buy more green paint to paint the concrete. So this really is the urgency. I am a father of 2 daughters, and I was really worried, should my kids grow up in a city like this? So that was one of the reasons why we started this citizen initiative. Here it is. I'm just moving forwards, because here I am sharing with you the Food Council, how it emerged in Rotterdam. First, there was like an informal get-together from civil servants from different departments and initiatives in the city, citizen initiatives. It was called the think tank Urban Agriculture, and this network, informal network, was supposed to coordinate the different contributions of the different departments in the city, like public health, public green infrastructure, and also economics. These are different departments, and they all had to deal with these civil servant initiatives that came up, and we were trying to coordinate it. And also we were trying to bring the citizen initiatives into the formal policy documents. And here you see a couple of these policy documents. This is the sustainability strategy of the city. And I think also here you will see the climate strategy of the city. And then here, finally, there was a food strategy of the city. So gradually, it was possible to tie the informal citizen initiatives to the institutional policies and documents of the city. One thing that we did was also to get in action. At that time, the mayor, the local mayor, so the vice mayor organized trade missions into the countryside, where with a group of buyers from the city, like wholesale managers and all that, we went to visit farmers, and then we asked the farmers, show your produce in order for us from the city to buy it. And there were three of these trade missions, and they were quite successful, I should say. It's a very simple idea, but 10 years later, I spoke to the successors of the farmers that were visited, and these successors told me that this was actually an indication of the short supply chain and of the close by markets that opened their eyes for another future for agriculture, not the one that their parents were doing, but one that was more locally oriented. So it's a very simple idea, but it was very effective. And here, then, I should share with you that the policy priorities changed. We got a different local coalition, and it became more a populist right wing. So it was more about jobs, creating jobs, and it was also not so much about like climate effects, because those were far away and maybe people didn't believe that the climate was changing, but much closer to air quality. Air quality in some of the streets in the city, it was really, the small particulars were really very bad. So the attention towards policy goals changed. And then we also struggled how to include that in the food council, because one of the things that happened also was that the government that lost the election, so they had to go away, and they founded then a food council, and they hoped that this would continue the active involvement of the city with food. So it was kind of trying to establish food permanently on the urban agenda. But I will tell you now, one of my last slides here is actually the message is that this is my last slide, that this strategy failed. So today we have in Rotterdam still a lot of urban citizen initiatives in urban food, but the food council is abandoned. It was this strategy of a progressive mayor to continue the emphasis on food, but this local mayor, she went away, and then there was this network organization, but there was no budget, there was no staff, there was this more populist approach, as I explained. And also the chair of the food council that they chose was an ex-minister, and also she was head of the professional organization of horticulturalists. So actually her first reaction to citizen initiatives was, okay, you are amateurs, please leave food growing to the professionals. So that's not the right mindset to be the leader of a food movement. So this is my last slide, where I just explain why it probably was not successful in continuing, and why it was sort of falling apart, but we can discuss it later as well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jan-Willem. I think I will take the presentation now. And I am Hilda Weges. I'm also from the Netherlands, from the municipality of Ede. And I will tell you how we work in Ede with the Food Council, what our successes are and what are the pitfalls. But first of all, I would like to start with a video. And that means that I have to, because I would like to show you something about the World Food Center that is developed in Ede. And it also states very clearly how we look at food policy in our municipality.
There you are, behaving perfectly. You expect to have food on your plate. But don't you think it's time to ask yourself, to check, to remind, to remember whether we will be able to cope? Look, today there are 7, but in 2050 there will be 9 billion people. All of them want and need healthy and nutritious food every day, if they may. But keeping up this pace means we will have to face our careless waste and growing waste, while others are in pain time and time again. But it's not too late. Together we can learn how to produce sustainably. The Netherlands can lead the way. Our journey starts here. A journey full of education, research, and innovation, so we can learn about scarcity, animals and plants, new variants of working together, and rolling up our sleeves to discover what's possible. Experience for ourselves the effect of food on our bodies. Live the stories from the food chain, full of fascination and inspiration. You too can help to sustainably produce the food for the future that we wish. What goes around, stays around. Join us on a food adventure, on a voyage of discovery. See the global challenges, the role of the Netherlands. Join us and move forward in education and research. Go forward, leap and bound. Research, education, take part, employ. Your sense of smell, taste, hearing, and take bearing. Perhaps you are hungry for this. So you will learn to understand that by participation and taking a stand, we can reach our goal, our demand.
Well, this was the story about the World Food Center. That is a new initiative in Ede that is started a couple of years ago and will be a big experience center in the Netherlands. Jan Willem is also involved in some kind of work related to the World Food Center. And as Food Council in Ede, we are also participating and commenting in our own way. So, well, now I will start my presentation. I hope this will work. Okay. Confirm. Can you see it now? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Because mainly I would like to talk about with you about how the Food Council in the municipality of Ede is functioning, what they are doing, how we work, and how we cooperate with the municipality. Okay, first of all, Ede is maybe something about Ede itself. Ede is a small city with about 110,000 inhabitants. It's situated in the center of the Netherlands, but it has very fast connections with all major cities and also with Rotterdam, which is situated almost here. And Ede is a city that is in the middle of what we call the Food Valley. And the Food Valley is an area in the Netherlands with a big university, the Wageningen University, who also has a big apartment in the field of food. They do a lot of research, and there are also all kinds of institutes, food companies, and also from the social society, all kinds of organizations working with food. So it's the perfect area to concentrate and think about food. And also the World Food Center, as I showed you on the video. And maybe if you want to come to the Netherlands, we have a very nice nature reserve in our municipality. It's named the Hoge Veluwe, and it's really nice to walk there and cycle there. Okay, but now about the Food Council itself. The ambition of the Food Council is changing the local food system into a sustainable, healthy, and local food system. And we really want to do it to collaborate with the local community and all the food chain partners. And that's why we are working on the whole chain, producing together, how we can do it, harvesting together, cooking together, eating, sharing, and also learning together, because there's a lot of things we don't know now, how it would work, what it's going to be, how to be sustainable. So learning together is also a very important thing for the Food Council. We think in a circular way. We want to be innovative. We also work from an holistic point of view and also from the whole chain, because food is everywhere. And you can look at it from all different parts of the chain and that is important to work together. We think that there are some important conditions that a food council can be successful in the city. We heard of the story from Rotterdam, and in that case, the policymakers were very prominent in the food council itself. We think in Ede the food council needs to be independent, so they can make up their own mind with the citizens of the city about all kinds of food issues. And that is why the food council is secured within an NGO called Smaakstad Ede. The members of the food council have a membership on personal title. So there are no, of course there are always some kind of party interest, but they are not a main issue in the food council. And it's also important that you have enough passionate participants, of course. And they need to have different backgrounds, not only age, culture, but also from professional backgrounds. So you have a very diverse a couple of people in the council to think about all these food issues. And of course, is it also very important that the participants have a very good connection with members of the local community. Because if you have a food council, for example, with 8 people, they don't know everything. We need a community to make up their mind and advise the municipality about all kinds of issues. What Jan Willem also said, and I think that is important, there need to be some resources, especially for the process coach, manager of the food council, so they can, he or she can work with the several members, and he coordinates the food council. If you have no resources and everybody has to do it without payment, I think this wouldn't be successful. And of course, it is also important that the municipality is open-minded and willing to share that and discuss their policy with the food council. When there is a municipality that doesn't want to do it, then it will be very difficult to function as an independent food council. Well, in our case, the city, the policymakers took the initiative to start a food council, and then we agreed on it that it should function independent, and that is going very well. What are the roles of the food council in our city? First of all, we are a mirror, and we're looking at all the things that is going on in the city, and we ask ourselves some basic questions. Are we doing the right things in our city at the right time, and do we get the right results? So we have a role sharpening and accelerating the policy. We also are some kind of booster. We are organizing all kinds of inspiration from outside and translating it to our local situation in Ede in different kind of sessions. So we really have the role of accelerating the policy and giving input for new policy, so to help them. And last but not least, we think we have a big role in being a connector, to organize the dialogue between the parties involved to promote the cooperation and to gather inspiration from each other. And in that case, being a connector, it's also very important to deal respectfully with all the different interests from all the different parties. Because, as I said, as everybody knows, food is everywhere, and there are a lot of parties with all kinds of different interests. And it's really a big game to cope with all these differences. Then in our NGO, we have different kinds of instruments that we are working with to function as a food council. First of all, we have what we call the food floor. There were all kinds of network meetings, in which we share knowledge about all kinds of food issues. And local initiatives have the possibility to pitch their ideas, and we discuss them with each other, and they can ask for help for the community. And that is very important input for us as a food council. Then the second instrument is the Food Academy, and then are more expert meetings. We invite experts from outside to help us to make our advices much better, to learn together. And last but not least, we have Eet bij Ede, and that is really our online community with a big website, social media, in which we communicate with our community. And we also ask for input when we are working for some kind of theme together. So that means that the Food Council is not functioning by itself. It has a food community surrounding the Food Council, all kinds of instruments and meetings that are giving input for our thinking of the Food Council. And of course, we have a strong relationship with the municipality, but they are not part of the Food Council themselves. It's also important to state what we don't do, because we do a lot, but there's also some things we don't do. And especially the Food Council itself, it doesn't develop food policy themselves. That is the task of the municipality. We are giving input, we are commenting the food policy, but we are not developing it, and we are not responsible for the implementation of the food policy of the city, and we don't carry it out. So the Food Council limits itself to requested and unrequested advice on food policy of the municipality of Ede, and the municipality themselves are responsible for development, implementation, and evaluation. Then the effects we are aiming at, because it's very important to think of what kind of impact you want to obtain. And the last couple of years, we show that the food community in our city has grown, and especially it has been widened. Different target groups are connected to the food policy, and also the cooperation between the residents, the consumers, and the chain partners is increased. So the food policy is being strengthened, and the local food system has become more sustainable and healthy. And most important, we are working, because that's the main goal, that the residents of our city are becoming more healthier. Then the method we are working on, because we have a clear method on how we work. Food is everywhere. You can look at it from different angles, from different target groups, with different focus, and that is why we chose that we choose 2 themes every year, and 1 half year the first one, and the second one half year the second theme, and then we have clear steps on how we work on that theme. First step is imaging. What is our main interest considering the theme? What will be our focus? What are our main questions? Different definitions, and also what kind of interests are part of this theme. For example, last year we worked on elderly and a healthy environment, and now we are going to work on urban greening. So there are 2 different sides, all important for food, but with a different focus. After the stage of imaging, we are gathering and collecting all kinds of information, and we're doing it in sessions with the food floor or the Food Academy, or we are doing some kind of online actions. And by collecting all these data, we have getting a clear view on what the theme is all about, what is important in our municipality, what is going wrong, what are the main issues. And that is the big part of the analysis we are doing in the third step. And then we are discussing the information within the Food Council. We are taking some conclusions and set up some advices. We make a little report and send it to the city. And then in the last step, the report is made. We are publishing everything on our website, all the information we have been gathering, the advices, and then we are discussing our advice in a meeting with representatives of the local council and discussing with them how we can put these advices into practice. And of course, that is difficult. So we also look very well to the agenda of the local council. So when they are working on a new, healthier policy, then we try to connect with it and also put our advices directly related to that kind of work within the council itself. And then the last side, that's the membership from different sides. As I said, this Food Council should be very diverse. So we have all kinds of members in the Food Council. And then, of course, this slide. And I think it should be nice if we could discuss these things, because I think these are the lessons that we have learned during the last couple of years. In the discussions, in the themes that we choose, we try to connect to the personal drives of people, because that gives them energy to participate in the Food Council. And it's very important that people can connect on a personal level with the themes we are working on. It's also important to invest in personal relationship, to working together, to cooperate in also obtaining the right information. So you should invest in community development. The Food Council cannot function by itself. It needs a community who can give them input and who can help them to make the right advices. It's also important to invest in knowledge sharing, because 8 people in a Food Council, they don't know everything. Food is a very complex and diverse domain, so you always need knowledge from outside to help you. And then the independency of the Food Council. I think it's very important, but it's also important that you stay independent but act as a partner, because only partners can work together and can obtain the right results. Stay focused. We have an integral approach. It means that from multidisciplinary angles, we are looking at the themes. And last but not least, you should be as concrete as possible in your advices, because the municipality in practice, they need help. They need good ideas on what they should do. And I think Food Council can help very well with it. Okay, I think that was the presentation from me. Thank you.